I'm Tom from DIY Life Tech, and this is an answer to the question of whether the Nespresso coffee maker is worth it. And there's a lot of factors that go into determining that. So it really depends on how you like to drink coffee. If you're brewing coffee just for you in the morning or for you and a couple of family members, then certainly this is a good, efficient way to do it because you're putting a pod in, you're brewing your coffee, you're getting just the amount that you need. Versus with drip coffee, you're probably going to have to brew at least 4 or 5 cups at a time. That might be more coffee than you need if it's just you, or if it's you and maybe a spouse or partner or other family member that you're brewing coffee for. So again, if you are just brewing for a small number of people, then the Nespresso could definitely be worth it. The other thing to consider, though, is if you do like to have parties and big groups and you're going to be brewing a bunch of coffee, if you try to do that with an espresso maker, you're going to be standing here doing this for, probably half an hour to brew enough coffee for a larger group. In that case, you might be better off with a drip coffee maker where you can load it up with grounds and let it brew, 12 cups at a time, and you're good to go. The other consideration of whether an espresso maker is worth it for you is whether you like the sort of espresso style coffee here, or if you like more of the drip coffee. So this is an espresso. Even if you do the lungo, which is the large setting here, you're still going to end up with a more concentrated, stronger coffee versus the drip coffee, stronger tasting anyway. The drip coffee, in my experience, I find kind of caffeinates me a bit more, but this is a stronger espresso type of flavor because it's forcing water through those pods at a high pressure. And that's going to result in just a different coffee experience. So if you like that traditional, more sort of water, not as intense flavor of the drip coffee, it's probably not good for you to have an espresso maker. But if you like that more concentrated espresso, then an espresso maker could be worth it for you. The other consideration is the appearance. Certainly, there's all different styles of Nespresso makers. There's relatively inexpensive ones that can be under $100. There's ones like this that are mid-range that can be, $200 to $400, and then it can go all the way up from there. There's ones that can cost thousands of dollars. So if you want something that's classier looking in your kitchen, that complements your other higher-end appliances, a lot of people do choose to go with a Nespresso maker because they do make very, very high-end appliances. And this one has held up really well. I've had this for about 7 years. So the quality is really great. So if it's something you want to invest in for the long term and you care about, having high quality appliances, then an espresso maker, again, might be worth it for you. One thing people often look at when they're considering if an espresso maker is worth it is, comparing this not to a drip coffee maker like this one, but to another single serve pod coffee maker, like a Keurig. And, Keurigs work great for making something more along the lines of a traditional drip coffee. They're usually less expensive. The pods themselves are usually less expensive. However, it's not going to be that strong espresso style because this is forcing the water through at a high pressure. The Keurig is normally more of a drip style. It's just done with a single serve. So if you like the drip style coffee and you want a single serve, then Keurig might be good, especially if you're looking for a lower budget option. But if you're looking for something that's more of that espresso style, then this is probably better. The other consideration is that with Nespresso, they make their own capsules and they also work with, pretty high-end coffee companies. There's Starbucks and there's things like that to make their pods, but it's a relatively limited selection because there's not so many of them. So if you want to just choose a couple of different kinds of coffee, especially, the pricier, higher-end coffees, then Nespresso is probably worth it. If you want a much broader selection, then Keurig or another single serve is probably a better option. Likewise with that, if you want to brew hot chocolate, if you want a selection of different teas, Keurig's probably better. There are some tea capsules for Nespresso, but they're harder to find. It's more limited. So if you want to brew other beverages, I've even seen like a hot apple cider pod for a Keurig style brewer. Then that's probably a good option. If you're just going to be brewing espresso, then Nespresso makers are probably worth it for you. So a bunch of different things to take into account on that. Also, how much do you care about the environment? It actually turns out that Nespresso makers and single-serve coffee makers in general are better for the environment, which seems strange because you're throwing the pods away, but they're better for the environment than drip coffee because they use less grounds. It's a more efficient way to brew coffee. And especially if you recycle these, which Nespresso provides their own program to help you do that, then it's actually a very environmentally friendly choice. It uses less electricity, uses less grounds to brew your coffee, and if you get an espresso maker, they will actually take the pods back for recycling for free. So definitely things to consider there. So overall, again, if you want a higher end coffee maker, especially something more attractive in the kitchen, but you don't mind a more limited selection of coffees that are sort of more carefully chosen by an espresso or by third parties, Nespresso could be a great choice for you. If you want a broader range of different things, or you want a more of a drip coffee style, go with a traditional drip coffee maker. Go with a Keurig. Likewise, if you want to have a wider selection of different kinds of beverages, Nespresso is probably not the right fit. However, if you want to be able to brew a nice strong cup of espresso at home, and you want to have, again, kind of a classier look and a sturdier device in some cases in your kitchen, then I would definitely say that an espresso maker is worth it. Again, I've had this one for about 7 years. I've probably brewed thousands of cups of espresso in this, and it's held up super well, and I love using it. So even though it is pricier, I definitely think for me it has been worth it.